there has to be a definite quality of lifting. Don't shy away from doing this, making this lifting stronger. And because the first thing is to draw the body upwards into an organized structure around which we let the muscles fall off the bones. Some parts of the body will feel like they want to drop downwards. Some parts of the body will feel like they want to expand outwards. Some parts of the body will feel like they want to stack up and rise up. So the letting go isn't necessarily downwards. The letting go is around the structure. We want the attachments of the muscles to the bone, where the muscles attach to the bone, we want to soften the attachment of the muscles to the bone, all the way around the bone. Someone's just joined us. That's Fred. Hi, Fred. We've only just started. We've been talking for a little bit, so welcome. So use our standing posture to understand lengthening upwards and releasing around and out. And these two have to be mutually connected. So there's always an awareness of the crown of the head, which includes a lifting up towards the crown of the head. It's not just this little thing at the top of my skull and being aware of it, because being aware of what's going on up here is useless. Okay, I'll say that again. Being aware of the top of the head is just as useful as being aware as the tip of the index finger. In isolation, absolutely useless. The top of the head is because there's a connection from the ground up to the top of the head. Now that line of connection is generated by an active drawing up. And when you lift up and draw up that line of intention, your body is pulled with it into an expansion upwards. Now, too much of that, and you end up holding and being stuck, and the muscles can't change. So you need to let go enough so you maintain that upward aliveness, but you're still free to move. So there's this balancing, tipping between how much tension you have in your body and how much relaxation you have in your body, and they're in balance. And I believe it's a mistake to think about Tai Chi purely in terms of relaxation. Now, this structure when you soften the holding muscles, becomes very unstable. Becomes very watery and fluid. And you're constantly becoming stable by rebalancing, changing where you are, how your body fits together, and how you balance over your feet is an alive, dynamic, moment by moment adjustment rather than something static and held. So this upright posture has an element of feeling strong and an element of feeling weak, and they're balanced. Weakness because it could be blown over at any time. Strong because it can readjust to being dynamically rooted and connected, just like a tree. Tree remains living for many years because it can adjust to the wind. If it was upright and strong, it would be snapped over very quickly. But because it can adjust and move with, it has great strength, and our body's the same. So we want to maintain that aliveness upwards. we want to maintain a release downwards. And we find the mindset where we can feel those two and marry those two together with a particular mindset where those two become apparent. That's the place where we rest. It's neither concentrated, nor is it sleepy, nor is it, in classics say, alert, like a bird of prey on the wing, looking for the mouse or whatever. That quality of attention. There's a certain mindset we have to find that enables us to hold the upright and the letting go at the same time. Quality of being fully in the world, being fully present, and not in the world at the same time. Being in the world but not of it is what's talked about in scriptures. This quality we try to bring into the postures of the form. We put our body in a different structural position. Brush right knee for a step. And we try to find the same upright structure, head top connected to both feet, fluid joints releasing off the bones in a particular stance. This is why the accuracy of the postures become important. This is a still posture, and we try and find that balance within it. Fully releasing to both feet fully pushed onto the ground by the body's weight, sitting deep into the hip joints, upright in the spine, crown of the head, shoulders hanging off the body, connected. Posture. Brush right knee to a step. Notice how, just like when you drop a stone into water, the water takes time for the waves to subside. When you put your body into a position, it's not immediately there. When you put your body into a posture, you feel, there's the posture, but there's the holding. What happens if I soften that holding? My posture deepens. The holding receives the weight of the body. You feel the body pushing onto the ground. You make adjustments. That happens over time. So the structure of the body, the releasing of the body, organize themselves over time. It doesn't happen instantly. You put yourself into a new posture, you have to release into it and change and make adjustments to find the settled position. This is important because every movement of the form, we're moving in. It's really, really easy to gloss over this quality of settling. It's really easy to move into a posture. There's my posture, my hands in the right place, my hands in the right place, my body's in the middle, but the quality isn't there. Quality of waiting, for the muscles to change and to adjust and to fully establish that quality of the mind settling in, the body opening out. We have to find this to go deeper and further into our Tai Chi. We can't be content with the first posture we come to, because this is what you were talking about, Toby. You'll do a form and you'll gloss over a posture. You'll gloss over that last, most important part of how the body settles, how the mind drops into this fundamental place where you're noticing much, much more. We don't want to ride our form with this everyday mind. We want to use our form to help us become more and more familiar with the different quality of seeing, different quality of being, different quality of resting. And if I gloss over it, I don't give myself the chance to find that. So the structure is really important because the structure enables the deep releasing. As we progress with our Tai Chi, we want to try and arrive in the center at the same time as we're fully released. For intermediate players, we arrive in the posture, then we let go into the posture. 2 stages. We move into a posture, then we settle into it. Settling is more of an internal process. Moving into a posture is more of an external structural. But the two haven't married together yet. The two are still separate. We found the posture, then we settle into the quality. Now for intermediate plus, I try to break it down into, instead of saying brown belt, yellow belt, green belt, blue belt, black belt, or whatever it is, intermediate plus, we want to try and arrive exactly in the center at exactly the same time as we're fully released. This is where the loosening exercises are really, really beneficial because they give us a very repetitive pattern to try and find that timing. So this posture here, when I arrive, I want to be fully released and alive upwards, not collapsed. Arrive, falling off the bones. In order to move, my muscles have to change, loosen and change. And I fall towards the foot slightly. So it's an exploration of not collapsing, not tightening up, just simply arriving. No self-congratulating when I manage it, just move on and do it again. Because you want to have a continuous quality rather than just an achievement. So good, if we achieve it, great. Move on. Just one part of a wave that's in the right place. Move on. The body management, managing each different part of the body, is another way of looking at what we do. It's not using that whole holistic mind. It's another way of trying to understand where in our body we have habits or parts of our movement we don't understand. So one of the key things is to make sure that the knee is bending the whole time your movement turning. Make sure the knee is bending forwards the whole time you're moving across and the whole time you're turning. Take your awareness to the knee, because if you want to follow the pattern of what the knee's doing, you need to be with it. So put your awareness in the sensations in the knee and make sure it's folding or it's bending the whole time you're moving towards it. It finishes its movement as you arrive. The knee is bending, the knee is bending, the knee is bending, the knee is bending. Coupled with that, you've got this idea of the body completely released and the alignment up to alignment, that's a good word, alignment up to the top of the head present. I'm just going to explain. There's a long period in our practice, which is I'd say quite a challenging period, okay, of moving to this position and still holding on. And you've got the posture right, you've got the knee bending right, you've got 90% of grounding there, but you're still holding on for support. You haven't fully released. And this is a long think of think of a process and staying with it until it changes, because guaranteed the holding on here, the holding on in the thigh, the holding up of my weight takes time to work out what I have to do until I don't need it anymore. You mustn't worry about having too much tension in the body, because when you feel tension in the body, you're on the right track, because you know what to aim for. You know what to work on and what to work with. When you feel tension in the body, it's aha, there's something I can work with. The problem is when you don't feel what to do next, what to work with. So if you feel you're holding on somewhere, try and work out where it is, try and work out what the sensations are and what muscles are needed to release. You have to be quite vulnerable, and you have to be quite willing to change and not be happy with 3/4 getting it right. You have to say to yourself exactly what Jim said to himself. My teacher is simply a man. If he can do these things, I can too. It's just a man. Just made out of flesh and bone. Flesh and bone can relax. He can do it. There's no reason why I can't do it. If I can do it, no reason why you can't do it. Release. Don't lose the structure. Fall away from the structure. Structure never disappears. You just fall away from it. Muscles fall away from the structure. The structure never disappears in the movement. Exercise number 2. Same process. We're going from height A to height B. Height B is our lowest connected position. It's our seated position. It's our beginning of the form position. Height A is where we start the form. We're sinking down to the next position. We're bobbing between these two places smoothly and evenly. We make sure that when we get to the bottom, there's still a minuscule amount of movement downwards if we needed it. When we get to the top, there's still a minuscule movement of upwards if we needed it. That minuscule movement wouldn't not lock us up. If we get to a place and we need to go down and it locks us, we've gone down too far. So think about a zone in which we can go up and down, and then think about a little buffer zone above and below in case we need to go down a bit more, in case we need to go up a bit more. We've got the leeway to do that. So when we get to our lowest place, it mustn't be that the ankles are tight, mustn't be that the joints have finished their range of movement. The range of movement is still available. 1, 2, 3, 4. Could you go down a little bit and come up? 1, 2, 3, 4. Could you go up a little bit in order to come down? 1, 2, 3. The lowest position. Can you go down a little bit in order to come up? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Can you go up a little bit in order to go down? 1, 2, 3, 4, and down a little bit in order to come up, and up a bit in order to come down. Keep going. So that's like having an elastic band, opening it up and then lifting up a little bit and feeling that little stretch that wants to come back down and following it down. It's like having a beach ball and squashing it in, squashing it down a little bit in order for it to come up. And those two little places are the most important places. What happens just above and just below? Condition we arrive in when we're at our lowest, and how we drop into that grey zone of going slightly lower, and the condition we arrive in when we're in our top point, and how we go slightly higher. Taiji is about continual change. It's not about having a static correctness. It's about being able to be fluid enough to return and stay stable. But when I'm at my lowest, I need to find a pressure that comes through the body and lifts me and doesn't tighten me and doesn't throw me out of alignment. So it's not a fast lifting that throws me out of alignment. It's not a held force where there's no change. It's a buoyancy that swells up through me and my body flows with it upwards. When I get to the top, I don't just want to drop down because that's collapsing. I want to feel how I can maintain my connection and start to reorganize to the base. Number 3. Turning, smooth and continuous. Once I get the turning going, I start to feel how my arms are part of that movement. Timing of the movement of my arms is exactly in coordination with the timing of my hips. Might be a slight wave, but they follow what I'm doing in my center. And then I start to draw the weight more towards one leg and more towards the other leg in that turning, by taking my mind down through the leg, letting the muscles fall off the bone. And in fact, it's a controlled falling towards that leg. But because I've got the structure through the body at the same time, I don't need to move over the leg for support. So the structure is there, and I fall off the bone. And I don't need to move here because this is a static balance over this leg. So in this one, I'm learning a dynamic stability that comes from partly letting go and partly the structure that remains there all the time. And then the structure's on this side, and I let go and I move towards it, and then the structure crisscross across the body. And then with that as the underlying foundation, I put the pattern of the exercise I know on top of it. Structure, release, pattern. Structure, release, pattern of the exercise. You may find that your arms are too slow. You've turned all you need to turn and your arm hasn't got to the top. So speed the arm up. Play with it. So that you can get the whole body coordinated together. This exercise will teach you to expand your understanding of the whole body as one. Because so often we micromanage different bits of the body to do different things. This particular exercise, you have to get into a zone where you're feeling the whole body as one movement. That means the line that goes up to the crown of the head and the falling of the bones off the line. Sorry, falling of the muscles off the line. And for helping the structure, we have clear rules which say the line doesn't move across. You just turn around that line. Clear rules, we say the head stays to the front. The back of the wrist comes up to the height of the bottom of the throat on the center line. And it arrives at the same time as the turning finishes. And I'm not waddling across. I'm not doing that. And I'm not going all floppy. And I'm not falling to my foot. There's no quick acceleration and as if I'm falling in catching. There's no sense of catching my weight. It's like as soon as I move onto my foot, my structure's getting stronger. As soon as you move onto your foot, the structure's getting stronger. Number 4. Starting at the lowest connected posture, coming up. Releasing down. Lowest. Coming up. Releasing down. Falling the bone. Falling off that line of structure. Structure remains both coming up and sinking down. Structure doesn't disappear. The muscles change. You move the structure. Hands open up. Fingertips roll together as I settle down. Compress and expand. Drop down straight. Go straight down here. Before you get to a place where you're locked, lean forwards. Somebody was asking me in the earlier class when they come up here, they feel dizzy when they come up. If you feel dizzy when you come up, don't go down so low, just come to this position. Don't let yourself hang with your head below, maybe too much blood comes to the head. And when you come up really, really slowly. When you uncurl, come up really slowly. Really slowly. And yes, it does feel a bit weird when you're hanging forwards and you come up, because it's a strange position to be almost upside down. Fifth loosening exercise. When we do the fifth loosening exercise, we're not in bow stance. We're in a much narrower stance. That means that going forward and backwards is much more on a line. The temptation when we do bow stance and go forward and backwards is that we go diagonal. If you look at my body, it's moving sideways. Now I'm over my back foot, now I'm over my front foot. What I want is to stay in the middle. Now I'm back, now I'm forwards, now I'm back, now I'm forwards. And then maybe a little bit, but I'm trying to maintain a sense. You can see my shoulder here against the line of the curtains. When I sit back, I want to maintain central equilibrium. Remain centered, not this one. When you sit back, you don't want to push your hip sideways. So if you do this up against a wall, so there's a wall running here, right? When you sit back, if a gap opens up between your hip and the wall, you'll know as you sit backwards, you know you're going diagonal. So you want to almost run your hip along the wall when you go backwards and when you come forwards. So if there's a wall just here, that's a guide, your front hip. Now, when you go forwards, your centrally stable position, if you look at my, take this straight line, if you look at my shin, it's pretty much vertical over my knee. Right? I don't want this front forward angle. I don't want my knee to be anywhere near my toes. Okay, I don't care what you see on YouTube. Lots and lots and lots and lots of people are doing these big postures with their knee right over their toes. It's not what I'm doing. And I hope it's not what you're doing. The front part is vertical in this position. And I'm in the center. I'm not 70-30. I'm in the center. 50-50 position. When I go backwards, if you look at my knee to my foot, it doesn't move. When I go backwards, if you look at my knee, it doesn't move. My front leg is now straight and I've sat back, but I haven't done this. There's no movement of my back half. So when you sit back, you don't push this hip sideways. All you do is fold the hip joint and the knee. Okay, so the knee stays where it is. The calf, you almost want someone to hold your calf in place. So you bend your knee and you fold your hip joint and you sit back. You don't need to get like 100% back. You just need to get back to a place where your front leg is straight but not locked. You need to move your center backwards. It's not very far, 6 inches maximum. The distance that I move, if I put my center here, if I'm 50-50, if I use this as a gauge, if I put my center here and I sit back, 4 inches is enough. 4 inches you move back is enough. Why is 4 inches enough? Because if someone's pushing into you, their balance will be gone in 4 inches. Right? If someone's pushing into you, 4 inches is enough for them to lose their balance. If they're adjusting as they move forwards, then of course they're not going to lose their balance, but then they're doing Tai Chi, they're not doing something else. If someone's thinking about striking or pushing, and they're in their head and their hands, their center will not sink. The center will follow their hands. It'll be a ballistic push. The power from their leg will push their center, will push their hands, like throwing something. This is a ballistic push. It's something we never do in Tai Chi. Okay? We never have a ballistic push in Tai Chi because the ballistic push moves the center. Once the center is on the move, it's very difficult to stop the center moving. It takes time for the center to become stable again. It's stable when it's being moved. It's got force behind it. As soon as that force disappears, it's unstable. This is exactly what we want from our partner. And that's why 4 inches is enough. They fall into this hole. We generate a hole 4 inches in front of them that they fall into. In that 4 inches, you can do any of your techniques, any movements of the form you can do within that 4 inches. But the center is disappearing. So we practice our 5th loosening exercise in a straight line in order to understand this alignment. When we do it in the form, we need a dynamic stability in the back leg that's present the whole time we sit back. We can't just move over the foot and then try and be stable. We have to find that line to the crown of the head, release around it as we're sitting back. So the stability is there at the beginning, it's there after we've moved a centimetre, it's there after 2, it's there after 3, it's there after 4, and it's there after 5. It doesn't go away. We don't rely on balance over the foot, static balance over the foot for stability. This is why beginners move over their foot, because their stability comes from this quality of support, one on top of the other. What we want is this quality of support that comes from dynamic buoyancy. So we want to find that in the base as we draw back. Let's do a move of the form. We're going to do from press. We draw back. Place your awareness firmly in the base. What is the base doing? Remember, the arms are the last thing to be aware of or to move. How am I managing my base? My center line. When you move forwards, both legs are receiving the weight of the body dropping downwards. The upper body is following that process of sinking, and the shoulders are following that process of sinking. This is when the hands separate, because the base is going in, the shoulders are going in, and the elbows are dropping. And I end up in the push position, connected and stable. The hands are at 45 degrees. 90 degrees to each other, as if they're resting on something straight from the fingertip to the elbow, not curved, not held, definitely not held. This is folded over, is better than that, but straight is good because there's a little bit of structure. One fist apart at the height of the base of the throat. As I arrive in that position, I'm fully connected. As I arrive in that position, fully connected, nothing more to do. Try a few times. We want to get the timing right. So draw back on the center line and you sink in. Drive everything together, ready to issue. Draw back. Stay level as you draw back. Sink in, moving slightly down and arrive. Very difficult to, for me to notice any difficulties with that, because most of the difficulty is going to be an internal release that hasn't happened. You all know how to find posture and shape of posture well. By now, you all know the shape of the posture well, but the quality, I was talking about earlier, that intermediate phase where timing of arriving in a posture and fully releasing into the posture need to be coordinated. Then, once we're in the center, we're ready to issue. The issue, in its primitive form, most simple issue, is an expansion of the back leg. Back knee, which is bent, straightens. How much? How fast? What happens to the rest of the body? To be determined, but the back knee straightens. Rules. When the back knee straightens, it mustn't be ballistic, so it mustn't push the center forwards, right? That straightening of the back leg mustn't advance the center, otherwise the push is ballistic. So it's a small push, and it lifts the center ever so slightly. It lifts the center. It's comparable to what we do here. It's comparable to this movement. This movement is obviously with both legs. Sinking in, opening the knees up. Feel what that is like first. Feel what the legs are like as they open up. Small push, small opening of the knee. Here, it's the same, but it's in one leg. It's in one leg. Question is then, what are you doing with the other leg? The other leg, you are sinking onto, but you're not moving onto. So it's a bit like the third loosening exercise, in that you're sinking onto the leg, but you're not moving onto it. So it's dynamically supporting you to enable the back leg to expand. So you're doing two things. The back leg is expanding, lifting you slightly. The front leg you're connecting to. So you're shifting your connection from back leg to the front leg, but you're not moving forwards. One more little thing, we talk about the 50-50 position, and in the 50-50 position, you've got 55 connection in the back leg and 45 connection in the front leg, just to get a proportion, approximate proportion, right? You want to transfer the 55 from the back to the 55 in the front during the period in which the back knee opens up. Let's go. Press. Draw back, staying level. Hands separate as you come forwards because you're sinking underneath. And you're arriving in the center, connected. Back leg expands, front leg sinks all together as one thing at the same time. Let's just do that a few times. Do that half a dozen times. And then we'll look at the arms. To the front. Remember to stay centered. Remember you're only coming back 4 inches. Remember the back knee to the foot doesn't move. Just the thigh changes its angle. Sinking. Arrive. 55 connected in the back leg, changes to 55 in the front, the hands go up. Back. Sinking. Expand. What are the shoulders and arms doing? I've probably explained this before and I'll do it again. When you push, if I put my crook of my hand against this line in the curtain, the shoulder drops, the hand extends, the elbow stays in the same place. So it's very much like a piece of paper opening out. This is the shoulder which drops, and at the same time, the hand reaches out further than it was, by that angle changing, not by the whole forearm moving forwards. Okay? If the elbow moves forwards, this is ballistic. Your shoulder is moving forwards to push, because the bone is here and here. If the elbow goes forward, the bone has to go forward. We don't want the bone going forwards to push. We want the bone connecting. So this angle changes. This is much softer angle than that, which is a V. There's a V at 90 degrees. Shoulder drops, hand goes out. When does this happen? At the same time as the back leg expands. So you arrive in the center, as the knee is expanding, as the connection's changing to the front foot, the shoulders are dropping and the fingers are being pushed out. You can practice this against a wall, and you'll notice as you expand the back knee, you'll feel more pressure in your fingertips. Okay. So that's a fairly concise internal process of what we're looking for in our form, regardless of which posture we're going through, regardless of which every single bow-legged stance issue is the same. Just the arms might be here, they might be here, they might be here, they might be here, they might be here. But the process of the base, process of the changes in the body, very, very similar. So I'm going to leave it there for tonight because that's quite a lot. I think it's more of a reference video to kind of look at again and see, yeah, and to explore with and see it again, rather than going through the whole form tonight or a new move of the form. Any thoughts before we finish for tonight?
Just I think it was a useful reminder for me. Jin's comment about Master Huang saying he's just the man. If he can do it, I can do it. It's a good
Yeah,
reminder.
yeah. And I think, you know, all the stuff I'm saying tonight, I think you've heard before. It's just consolidating it and really trying to see if those are the things we're actually managing to do in our practice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, as a kind of direction. Yeah, he's just a man, just a bloke. Any old bloke. Well, sort of any old bloke. Good, good. Any further thoughts? Okay, I should add it's half term next week, so there will not be a class. Well, you're welcome to turn up. I won't be here next week. There's no class next week. I will send you an email. I don't know how many weeks the next block is, and I can't think of the dates, but I'll send you all that in an email. So you've got that. Good. Have a good mini break. Have a good half term, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks very much, Luke.
Right, good to see you back with us, Fred. And
Thanks, Luke.
Olivia, look out for an email.
Okay.
Next 5 minutes.
Yeah. See you shortly.